Hey everyone, I'm here with my friend Yukaphile, aka who goes by Siberian Dream on YouTube, and we're doing
Hello.
something a little bit different today.
Yeah. Me and our Inquisitor have been periodically going through the Animorphs book series. They are a pulpy YA adventure series from the 1990s, a book series.
Yeah,
And I figure at every two books finish, leave our thoughts here.
yeah, and we do eventually plan to do like other books as well, like EU books.
Yeah,
We're definitely gonna do like Young Jedi Knights and Jedi Apprentice stuff like that.
you're going to review the Crystal Star next. You're not ending
Oh,
yet.
I do want to get some people together to review the Crystal Star with me. Oh, I mean, I'm gonna post my individual review, but we're gonna do like a whole like discussion analysis of that masterpiece in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, for the moment, I want to present a bunch of discussable topics for the Inner book series. First off, let's talk about the characters. Jake, Marco, Cassie, Tobias, and Rachel. What are your impressions of them?
You know, before I get to that,
Okay.
I'm reading this because it's part of that like alternative media to like modern stuff. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, modern culture and entertainment is kind of in a
Period.
stagnant, creatively and just
Creatively bankrupt.
yeah, they're creatively bankrupt, and it's just not as good as the older stuff. And there's like a lot of great stuff from the '90s, like books, especially.
To me, this is. There's an older YouTube reviewer I was following who pointed out how this is actually more of a legitimate horror series than Goosebumps. They go for cheap horrors. This kind of unnerves you with stuff that's actually realistic type horror, you know?
Yeah, it's more like deeper and mature. Not just like it's subtle,
Yeah, subtlety.
and subtlety is good.
And the other thing that strikes me, it's a diverse cast that doesn't beat you over the head with it. They do make reference to it a few times when it makes sense and when it matters. You
Yeah,
know,
it's funny how all these people claim, oh yeah, there wasn't diversity and inclusion in entertainment until now. We're finally doing it. It's just like,
that's just for marketing reasons.
yeah, it's kind of racist to me in a way
Yeah,
because they're ignoring all the achievements of the past.
yeah, because I mean, look at it this way: you got Jake and Rachel talk about how they're probably Jewish by blood. I think I don't remember. They don't practice any of the traditions, so it's not like it's the faith, but they are Jewish in a way. Tobias
Oh
is
yeah,
a kid, Cassie's black, Marco's Latino, and but they really don't beat you over the head with it. They're just friends, you know.
yeah, they don't make a deal like, this is my race, that's my personality. It's like, no, it's like the good characters who happen to be certain races.
Yeah, and it's um, Cassie only makes a deal of it in the past when they time travel once, and that makes sense because there'd be some idiot back then, and I don't want to
Makes
spoil
sense,
it.
it's the times, so they would encounter something like that.
I also don't buy this idea that Cassie would be BLM. Well, I get that she might be out there protesting, but she probably wouldn't. She definitely is like the Martin Luther King era of pacifism, the tail end of that. So any of the excesses you can associate with them, burning buildings or whatever. No, that is not Cassidy, like at all. You know, very nice. So,
Yeah,
so,
so
so let's get to the character stuff.
yeah, because this is kind of leading into that.
Yep.
All right, as you were saying before.
Okay. First book narrated by Jake. The second book narrated by Rachel. Your thoughts on that?
I kind of like how they have it in first person and they switch characters so we get their points of view. It just adds more of that diverse thought to the book, and we get to see how they think and feel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What else?
Jake's motivation for joining the fight against the Yeerks to save his brother Tom.
Yeah, like, it makes it really his fight against these aliens, because the alien threat in the book, for those of you who don't know, they're kind of like these
Parasitic.
they're parasitical slugs that go inside your brain and take you over. Basically, for those of you who might have seen Stargate who are watching this,
You're like the Galawoo.
exactly, they're just like them in many ways.
Yeah.
It's just like one is like a snake worm and the other is like slug.
It's like Stargate for children, kind of like Reboot was Tron for children. That's not to say it's a ripoff, because they were far creative back then about that.
Yeah, you can be inspired by something, without, ripping it off.
Yeah, but his motivation is to save his brother. And one scene that stands out in particular is where he considers it almost like a weakness to fall prey to the Yeerks, and he's like in denial for the first half of the book.
Yeah, for most of it, he's thinking, yeah, my brother just can't be a Yeerk. He can't. Even though, he's different, and he doesn't want, because his brother, whose name is Tom, right?
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, he used to be like, play sports. Wasn't he playing like soccer or something like that?
Basketball legend.
Basketball, that's what it was. And he was good at it. He was like the best of the team, but then he's just like, oh, I'm not interested in anymore, because he joins the sharing, and he becomes a controller.
It's a Yeerk front organization.
Yeah, recruit people, get the Yeerks into people's heads. Usually, they do it more subtly, like they bring you into it with
like
usually,
coerce
without force.
It's like a cult, trying to give people a place to be understood, to be heard, to be loved unconditionally. Recruiting hosts through hugs and unconditional acceptance, and don't we all want that?
Yeah, it's quite an effective method.
Yeah, to go from denial about his brother to just wondering if he was one of these resistance hosts, to which he was. Maybe you should talk about that, these collaborator hosts in the first book.
Yeah, like your teacher, your policeman that might have been friendly.
Yeah.
They could be a controller, and they are actively hunting and looking for people to recruit.
Because that's the thing about 1990s media, is it's all done through allegory, and it's less blunt and moralistic than it is today, because it's about the piece you know is false, and everything you thought you believed true is false. That seems to be the big motif in the 1990s.
Yes, subtlety, which can't say that for media today.
Yeah. One thing I could talk about, impressions of Visser 3, the big bad we're gonna fight. Visser 3, he's like a bombastic type villain.
Oh, he is great. Like,
yeah,
he is just classic villain.
Like for more Stargate fans, think Anub was around SG1, the classic.
Yeah, the mustache twirling villain, but like very good.
Yeah.
Just pure evil, enjoys being evil, and like I said, there's some pretty dark stuff that happens at the beginning of the book when they introduce him. Like,
yeah,
because he has the ability
to morph like the heroes.
Yeah, and he turns into like these exotic alien creatures, and he just devours.
Prince Alfangor.
Yeah, the prince, the Andalite prince.
He gave the kids their powers and warned them about the Yeerk threat.
Oh, a funny thing I want to say, because this, I'm gonna post this in Ryan Kindle's server, and anyone who on there.
Sure.
Jake's brother Tom. I imagine he sounds like Ryan Kindle.
That is kind of funny too.
I put that voice in my head, so I doubt you're watching, Ryan, but if you are, man, like I totally imagine that voice.
Well, he's a sports dude, so it is funny to imagine.
Yeah, it's funny, so it really just fits.
Yeah.
And imagine like also a younger version of Ryan, being his brother too.
Oh, the Yerk pool. The Yerk pool. Yeah.
Oh yes, the Yerk pool. So yeah, the Yerks occasionally have to go out of their hosts for
To
a while to, like
reabsorb Kendrona
soak up some sort of chemical or
rays.
yeah, and it's like this underground place and there's different entrances to it and they go there.
It's under half the city.
Yep. And eventually the heroes do discover and follow someone back. Don't they like follow Tom back?
Yeah, they follow him there, but Jake was a lizard morph, and he found where it was by following Chapman.
Yeah, and
Remember
they
what?
go to like the zoo place to pick up like morphs they use in battle. Before they do that, like one person's a tiger, like
Jake's,
Rachel's like an elephant.
Cassie hasn't gotten her battle morph yet. That's the next one that's up.
I can't wait to see that.
He's a wolf. But
yes,
what Tobias said when he said we go find the Yerk pool, blow it up, even though they found out it's under half the city. Boy, that's a little bit cocky right there.
yeah, like if you blow it up, what if that creates a giant sinkhole and then most of the city just like collapses?
Yeah. And in the second book, the first book is mainly setup. It's showing what the villainous threats are, and it's showing what they're facing and them getting acclimated to their morphs. Because one of the rules is that you can't be in morph for more than 2 hours or you'll be trapped in that form, and that you have to acclimate to the animal's instincts. The second book is them trying to learn more information. Yeah. Sneaking into Chapman's house. You love that. The kitty.
Oh yeah, especially the stuff with the cats. Like,
Yes.
I love cats. If you know me, and of course, seen the video of my grandma's kitty. I am just a huge cat lover. They're so adorable and fluffy, and it's just so adorable. And the writer writes, everything with cats so well. Like I'm like, yep, cats do that. Cats. I've seen cats do that and all that.
Yeah. And
it just warms my heart.
What the big takeaway I take from the second book is, and this is going to be expounded upon in later books, is that Rachel can be a bit cocky and reckless because she goes back into the house without telling them that Chapman, they discovered her, and Visit 3 told him to kill her, but he didn't want to break the cover.
And then, Jake is morphed into a flea.
On her back, yes.
Yeah, because they said they wouldn't do it, but, yeah. It makes sense they want to check on her,
No. There's not really that much to explore this early on, except I showed you pictures of a lot of the alien races, the Hork-Bajir, the Taxons.
And those names are just amazing. The designs are cool, too. They're, like, really creepy.
Yeah. You could get a lot more done with creatively in a book series than you can in a TV and a movie show.
Because you are limited by budget,
yeah.
To create stuff, and you can use your imagination, draw stuff, or just
I mean, in the TV show, they only ever showed one Hork-Bajir because they have it in the budget.
Oh, what's really funny? Yeah. A couple of years ago, we had the television outside, and we were going through what's that channel, Cubo, and they were showing the Animorphs on Cubo, so it was at the tail end of the episode.
Yeah. I will say, for the TV show, the actors were generally very well cast. It's just they didn't really do much with it, the one big plot point I want to bring up.
Oh, can I say something real quick before you bring that up?
Go ahead.
They always describe this shopping mall, and I'm kind of putting my own town and connecting that and putting that image, like
that's what we all do.
Like, even though there's like no construction stuff, there's one part I could say, like, yeah, that maybe they're building up, stuff right there. I kind of replace certain buildings or neighborhoods, and like, yeah, that's where they're building stuff. Because I remember, there was a couple years ago they were remodeling something or building something, and I was just like, oh yeah, that could have been, that construction site.
That's the beauty about 1990s media. The best of it is it could be taking place right now at the time out there somewhere. The same for Stargate, same for Reboot. It's like if you remove the dated tech from Animorphs, which they do get into a little.
Yeah, like they mentioned like a Sega, which could be either like a Sega Saturn or a Genesis.
Yeah, but if you remove that, it's like it could be taking place at any time. And that's the beauty of it. That's what escapism is, or should be.
Oh, like another thing I connected, even though they got rid of it in my mall a couple years ago, which is kind of sad. They mentioned going to like an arcade, and I totally imagined that arcade. They're going to it. That used to be at my mall.
Better be careful. Don't you know that the sleaze troll shows up right after you cross the nether fjord? I want to ask your thoughts about Tobias. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tobias was the one that
is morph.
Yeah, it's kind of tragic and sad he can't, but at the same time, like, he has a bad situation with his family, so.
And they leave it up in the air as to whether or not he deliberately trapped himself to avoid being shuttled between aunt and uncles on either side of the coast that don't care about him.
And so, and he mentioned like, yeah, I'm this hawk, I'm free. There's this freedom, I don't have.
Where you just
so, because they mentioned how fun it is to just soar into the air to go on those thermals.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned from the series is what a thermal is. Bubbling hot air rising up from like concrete, whatever.
Yeah, I always knew what a thermal was. Like,
this is one thing this series is educational.
Yeah, education instead of indoctrination. Oops.
Yeah, just slip out.
And of course, the series is set in the 90s, which
96 is when it begins.
Yeah, a year before I was born in real life, and it's like I'd rather be there than in the excuse my language, the shitty 2010s and 2020s, which is an absolute crappy time period to live in.
No one likes them.
Like,
I was going to ask you about Cassie.
F this modern world.
I was going to ask you about Cassie though. She's one of my favorite characters.
I really like her too. Like, she has this. She's really in touch with the animals because of course her family are vets. They kind of like in a farm property. It's really funny. I'm imagining, my grandma's place, but a more, but some of the buildings are converted to like places where animals are in.
Yeah.
Another connection with, imagining real life in this.
Yeah. And they go out rescuing animals. It's mostly volunteer work, but they do have to get funding. And that's a plot point later on. Her mother works at the gardens and her father works at the barn.
Yeah, so, and she has a natural gift for morphing and
all these shapes.
And what's funny is she almost like turns it into an art where it's like she can make it look the transition from, animal form to human form, like look less awkward.
Yeah, the Andalites call that an extreme.
And it's funny, they describe, them using their morphing powers, and it creates a lot of funny images in my head, and I just laugh as I read it.
Yeah.
Most might be like, ew, but I'm just like laughing.
Like where she has those big wings, and they describe she's like an angel, and Mark's like, oh, great, she's an angel, and we get to be freaks. We could transition to that character now, Marco.
Oh, first I want to say one more thing about Cassie. Cassie, she is black, and they kind of use like the subtle stuff. Like there's a part where a controller cop is kind of looking out and comes, and they kind of go behind her, and you could use that, as an allegory for, like how
racial profiling from cops.
Yeah, racial profiling, but it's not in your face. It's so subtle. Like it's so.
It need not be exclusive to that, but you could see it that way. You know what I mean?
It gets you thinking, like, could it be that? Is that what the author is trying to say or not?
It really could be.
It's up to the reader.
Yeah. Nothing to preach at.
And it's not so ham-fisted and so heavy-handed where you just, like, where with media today where you roll your eyes at it.
Yeah, because it's just like even if there's good intent to what you're trying to do, you're taking it way too far to hit those trends or whatever. Yeah, but that is the world we live in. And Marco,
Marco, let's say.
at the moment, there really isn't much exploration of him, right? At the moment,
Yeah, because I really don't have much to say about him.
because he's just very hesitant, but he's also probably right. They could get killed, and this is deadly serious stuff.
Yeah, he is like, I'm not sure if I'm on for this, but it's just like my friends are doing it, so might as well join in.
You'll get a chance to see your thoughts about him in number 5, the 5th book. And there is a lot to unpack there, plus a surprise revelation that I ain't gonna get into. Um, but yeah, that's a good one. It's Tobias has a great book coming up. Cassie has a good one, and Marco has a good one. They're solid classic hits.
Also, the second book, it explores, some of these controllers can fight. Like, they don't have full control. They have to fight for it.
Yeah, some of the controllers can fight back, especially if they've surrendered control for a very long time.
Like, if they have that strong will, they can resist, and they might not be able to take full control, but it slows them down, causes problems.
Yeah. Oh, how about the stuff where they're chasing Fluffer in the tree and she has the nightmare about the maggots and stuff?
Ugh. Because, she was a shrew, and the shrew was like, there's meat in these maggots. I want to eat them.
Yeah, it's just the first of many nightmares they're going to have over the years due to the animal forms they have.
And they're gonna when Visser 3 ordered, capture or kill the cat. Like, no, don't kill the kitty.
Yeah.
And when what's the name of the friend? Melissa.
Melissa, yes.
Yeah, when she was begging, don't take away Fluffer. Like, yeah, don't take away Kitty. Like, it reminds me of this nightmare I had where these, me and my grandma's cat were in this park, and these, big burly thugs were like, yeah, give us the cat. And I was like, no, and I picked her up and ran to the home with her, and I ran in the house and was like, I'm not gonna let anyone take you. Your pets mean a lot to you.
Yes. My takeaway is that Tobias. Can I go back to the character stuff?
Oh yes.
Tobias embraced this fight with almost over enthusiastic glee just to make up for the shortcomings in his own life. Marco just wants to kind of stay away from the fight because his own father took the death of his mother, his wife, pretty hard. He's like, if something happened to him, he wouldn't take it very well at all. Jake's just in there to get his brother back. Cassie, well, at the moment, she's into all this spiritual mother nature stuff. And Rachel, you're going to see she also has reasons for embracing this fight over proportionally. It's that kind of deal.
And of course, yeah, in this book, because she wants to,
Help Melissa.
yeah, help her friend Melissa, which
I think she was able to at the end.
yeah,
I don't know. Because that's the thing. Chapman basically surrendered control over his body.
yeah, he did it in sacrifice for his daughter.
Yeah, just so that the Yerk within him in his 226 would spare her and leave her alone, so that he's a more useful, compliant host.
And of course, they also focused on their Rachel and Melissa's relationship, because ever since that happened with the controller thing, she's been distant. They've barely talked.
It's almost the thing you were talking about, subtlety, is where that guy in the car comes after Rachel. Remember that? And they all jump after saying how dumb you were to put yourself in that situation.
Oh, and she partially morphs into the elephant to freak him out.
That was great. Could that be seen as a form of rape, victim blaming, or was it by design? You don't know, do you?
Indeed.
It could be. They're too young to know the nuance. Maybe they're just, you don't know, do you? Because it's something that they say and then they drop later on.
Yep. they don't keep bringing it up, like what modern media would do and be like, yeah, in your face, man, no
And I do
subtlety.
want to say this: it seems as if Rachel gets chewed out the most for being a hero. The only other time they get mad at her is when she saves a kid from, I'm not gonna say what, but it is kind of jarring that she gets chewed out the most for being a hero.
That reminds me of, what Kreia would say, like, don't just, throw your life away and constantly help others because you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah,
And I mean, Kreia is not saying not to help people, just be careful what you do.
yeah. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and it's not really as if Rachel was helping or save anyone or anything. It's just, you know what they could call that is a big lipped alligator moment, like on the Nostalgia Critics channel.
A big lipped alligator moment.
And it's
Man,
not the
that was from the good days of the Nostalgia Critic before, like, his content went downhill in, like, 2014.
there is one thing I want to bring up. The woman they saved from the York pool, they dove down there with crazy ideas, wanted to save Tom, wanted to blow it up, and they only were able to save one woman who I personally think is that woman from the first Megamorph book. You haven't seen that yet, but I really think that's her. A lot of fans speculate on that too. Remember that?
Megamorphs. That sounds like some Power Ranger thing.
Yes, the Megazord. I mean, for sure. So, are there any other takeaways or impression that you have about the series?
I think this is going to be really fun because, these books probably were at the library at my elementary school when I was younger, but I don't know if they're there now. But they'd probably, because let's see, I went to start kindergarten in the very early 2000s, so
Yeah.
it probably was there, because they had
Yeah.
Jedi Quest and Jedi Apprentice there.
When I first started diving into the series with dedication was around September 11th, 2001. I remember because I was around the time of the attacks, and I remember some of the books I was reading, which was number 8. So you're probably right there. The one good thing about Animorphs is they have wild imagery and a vivid splashing of color, and both sides of the political aisle can approach it on their own terms without being. I like liberal themes. I just don't like when it's the liberal orthodoxy. You know what I mean? Because then it's a straitjacket.
Yeah, or just like demonizes one side, or is biased towards a certain,
Political views, yeah,
yeah,
or religious views. I mean, why not?
like anyone can enjoy it. They don't have like an agenda.
There's this one scene I have of a book where Tobias is saying, "How could we ever have acceptance towards Hort Bajir and all these aliens when the Boy Scouts wouldn't let in one gay kid?" And I'm like, it can be a bit preachy, but you get the sentiment. It's like, yeah, when there's all this division on Earth, how could we ever hope to get along with aliens from space? And then
Mm-hmm.
it's not that bad. I agree with that. It so it's what strikes me the most about Animorphs is the prose style. It's very good prose.
Wow. Let's see what else. What else?
Well, I told you about the narrated order that there is. It's Jake, Rachel, Tobias, or Axe, the 2 special event characters, and then it's Cassie, Marco, and then reset to Jake, Rachel, etc., etc. That's a unique way to do it, isn't it?
I'm glad they alternate.
Except in the special event Megamorphs, in which case that they all take a turn. They all take a turn. The Megamorphs are the first one deals with some kind of dust monster tornado that's attacking them. I won't say what it is, but they do suss that out early enough. So I'm not going to leave too many spoilers about it. What do you think of that?
That's
Some kind of
interesting.
dust monster tornado. The second Megamorphs is where they got knocked back to the time of the dinosaurs. like 65.
Wow. Like, I almost forgot you brought up like there's time travel in the series.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That spices some things up.
yeah. I mean, it's not like the universe like the Star Wars Legends where there is no supposed to be no time travel to be eternally consistent. They can do whatever they want here. What's the third? The third deals with something from the Andoi Chronicles of Secret of Elfangor. So, right, hush, hush. The fourth deals with one of these omnipotent beings we're going to meet later. I won't say who. Comes to Jake with an offer when he's feeling very beaten down by the later stages of the war and says, I'll make you an offer. All you have to do is say please, and you never met Elfangor. So it's a wonderful life theme. You never met them, and you didn't have to deal with all this hardship. That sounds interesting, right?
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, of course, just the basic premise. And the Andoi Chronicles is narrated entirely by Elfangor, and it deals with how he ended up in the construction site. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, good prequel.
That's what the Chronicles are. They're prequels and very good ones. Hork-Bajir Chronicles. That details the fall of the Hork-Bajir planet, and it's narrated from three perspectives. Your perspective, Andoi perspective, and Hork-Bajir perspective. Now that sounds interesting, doesn't it?
Indeed.
Let's see. Visser. That deals with how the Yeerk invasion got started on Earth from Visser 1's perspective, but I won't say any more than that because that's spoilers.
Yes, I want to find out on my own.
The Ellimist Chronicles. That's my favorite of the Chronicles book because it shows how the Ellimist, he's one of these omnipotent beings, came to the kind of glory of power that he did, and it's just a very rich book. It's great. You got quite a journey ahead of you. It's great.
Indeed.
So, what other impressions and takeaways can you take from this?
It's a good start, and I wish I could have read these books,
Years ago.
back when I was in like 5th or 6th grade, and into the middle school era.
Yeah, and it's not too late. They have them on Amazon.
Yeah, I could add them to my book collection, even though most of my bookshelf is expanded universe books.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one final thought I want to give you before we wrap this up, because we've been at this for 32 minutes, is like they're making an Animorphs movie, and it's kind of has me a bit cringing. Even worse because Michael Grant and Kay Applegate, those are the two writers, have stepped away from the project because I get the impression they're not going to compromise their principles and be sellouts or even be around to take the blame, which is what I think the studio wanted from them. They're open to
Yes, because we can do whatever we want now.
Yeah, and it's just a movie is limited runtime, and what are you going to do? There are a number of times throughout this series where all the alien weirdness would be solved if someone just stuck up a cell phone camera and took pictures and just uploaded onto the net within seconds. Because it's just, you cannot do Animorphs removing it from 1990s context. You need to be smart, and I just don't think they're going to be.
Yeah, and also if they were gonna do it, if they did another TV series like Netflix or
Yeah.
Disney Plus thing, that could work.
Well, the first one didn't work so well because Nickelodeon bit off way more than they can chew, and Kay Applegate and Michael Grant weren't that involved in that one either, and the acting was good, but a lot of the world building plots were very lame, because they just didn't know what to do without it. Take the differences from the books. In the first episode, they introduced this little disc thing. Fangor throws it to them, and that was in the books. The disc was in the books. You know what I'd do with it? I'd make it Fangor's recorded Hirak Delest. That is basically what sets up the Andoi Chronicles. That would be interesting, right?
That would be a good way to connect things.
That would be. It's just they're not going to do that like at all. It's going to be bad, but if they can get enough normies to like it, they'll probably launch a new franchise, and then we're out.
Yeah, and they will probably do book reprints with
Oh, they tried that. 10 years ago.
Yeah, didn't they like change stuff? I think I remember you told me that.
They tried to update it, but they failed to update the cultural context. They changed like Sega to game console. It requires more than that because the 90s was this relative era of peace and prosperity between the the fall of the wall and the fall of the towers, where we're in
Yes.
this new post-communist winds of change era where we feel optimistic. We're
A
looking forward.
golden age compared to this current dark age.
Yeah, and they gave us a lot of good stuff, and now it's like we don't need to be told that we're living in a crap era anymore. Everyone knows that. So I'll just leave you with that final thought on the movie, and then we could probably wrap this up. Is
Yeah.
so
I'm glad we're able to do another one of these because the reason why I've been able to do Imperial Inquisitions because I haven't really felt like doing them, and also I've just been so busy, helping my grandma, and also me and Yukaphile have been watching Stargate,
yeah,
so
we get to
I
do
just
that.
haven't had the time to do that.
Yeah. Plus other stuff we're eventually going to get around to doing
Yeah,
reviews for.
so I still got a lot of planned in the future. Hopefully, I'll be able to do.
Yep. And hopefully you'll be able to leave more detailed thoughts for the next couple of books. It just keeps building on itself.
Yep, and as Teal'c would say, indeed.
Yep.
So I guess we'll end it here, and I hope you people enjoy this.
Yep.
So see you whenever we do another full Inquisition or another mini one.
Talk to you later.
Take care.